Hi all, and welcome to my channel. If you're interested in learning what it takes to make an MMO, then you're in the right place. The goal of this series is to investigate all of the common software problems that you might face when building your own MMO. In that sense, the goal of this series is to be educational. We will explore a variety of topics in a reasonable amount of depth: rendering, networking, deployments, organization, algorithms, and much more. When people say MMO, they typically mean a massive game. We might not be able to reach that kind of scale, but we will design our system with scale in mind. A more precise name for what we will build is a persistent distributed online game. That's kind of long to say, so I'll just stick with MMO. Because MMOs require several different domains of knowledge, I'll definitely need to learn a few things along the way. I'll try to give each subject the explanation it deserves, but in case I miss anything, feel free to let me know. The language we are going to use for this project is Go, also known as Golang. Go is a relatively simple language but packs an enormous punch when it comes to features and libraries. In my opinion, these characteristics make Go a great choice for teaching software and software architectures. Well, that's all I have for now. I hope you'll stick around and let me know what you think. Alright, let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is set up our Go project folder. So I've already done that here in an MMO folder inside of my Go path. And the first file we're going to create is a main.go file. So let's do that now. Main.go. And then in here we can start coding. So let's open up this file with our favorite text editor. And then because it's a main file, we want to indicate that to the Go compiler. So we do that by doing package main. Next we can set up our import statements. And the two imports we're going to use is from a package called Pixel, and that's our rendering library. Now that we have our import set up, we can create our main function. Because Pixel is an OpenGL-based renderer, we need to lock all the draw calls to the same thread. Pixel has a helper function that does that for us, so let's do that now. In Pixel, we do this by doing pixelgl.run, and then we pass in a function that we want to execute, and then that'll be like our sub function, which holds all of our draw calls and all of our draw work. So here I've created run game, and that's what does that work for us. Next, we want to open a window. To do that, we first need to create a window config. Here in our window config, we've configured a few things like the title, the boundary of the window, or if we want vsync on or off, and then if the window is resizable or not. Next, we can use that window config to actually open a window object. So this line will open a window and also return an error in case the window failed to create. Then we have a window object here, and then we have a little bit of error checking below. So right now we'll just panic if we were unable to open the window. Now that we've created the window object, we can actually start using it. So we'll call this function setSmooth to setSmooth false. And we want to use setSmooth false because this will be a pixel art game. If you set smooth to true, then it'll start blurring the pixels to make them a little bit more smoother. That's really only useful for non-pixel art type games. This will be our main game loop, and this will just loop forever until the escape key is pressed. Inside our game loop, we'll do two things. First, we'll clear the screen with a black color, and then also we'll update the window. In updating the window, we'll do two things. It'll draw the next frame buffer to the screen, and it'll also check for new inputs. Notably, checking for new inputs is required for things like just press to work. Now that we've done a good amount of work, we can actually run our program, and we'll have to do a few things to enable that. I'm just going to open a terminal to do all the work in. The first thing we need to do is initialize this project as a Go module. So to do that, you do go mod init. And now that that's set up, we can actually pull down the dependencies that we have, and the one that we need to pull down is Pixel. To do that, to pull down all of your dependencies, you can just do go get dot. Now that Pixel is pulled in, we can actually build our code and see if it runs. To do that, you just do go run dot. And there you have it. Here's our screen. It's resizable, and the title's correct. And then exit button doesn't work because we haven't coded that listener in, but you can hit escape to close. Now that we have a window, let's do a little bit more. Let's work on drawing a sprite, and then also using the input arrow keys to move them around. I've gone ahead and drawn a little character for us to use in our game. It'll just be man.png. So we'll import that, and then we'll draw him to the screen, and then we'll also use arrow keys to move him around. So the first thing we need to do is read in that input, that man.png file, and then convert it to a sprite object. So let's create a new function to do that work for us. So this will be our getSprite function. It basically takes in an input, which is the path to the file, and then returns a sprite and an error if the sprite was unable to be opened or created. So let's open the file, then we'll check for errors, and if there was an error, we'll just return that error back to the user. We also don't want to forget to close the file. So this code will take our recently opened file and convert it into an image using the image.decode function. It'll also return an error potentially if there's any issues, but so we're just going to return that error if it happens. This next line will take our image and convert it into a pixel.picture object. Finally, we can take that picture and pass it into the pixel.newSprite function. We also need to specify the bounds of the picture to tell Pixel how much of the picture it wants to turn into the actual sprite. We'll also return nil as the error because there was no error. Now that we have our function, let's use it, and we'll use it to create a man sprite object, and then we'll also check our error and panic if it fails. Let's also set up a position for our man to be drawn at. We'll just set it to the center of the window bounds. Now with our man sprite and our man position, we can draw it to the screen. So let's unpack what this function call looks like. So we're taking the man sprite, and then we're drawing him to the window, and then the transformation that we want to draw with him is the next parameter to this draw call, and that call looks something like this. So we create the identity matrix, which is basically a zero transformation, where we don't move the sprite at all, we don't rotate the sprite at all, and we don't scale the sprite at all. But we can adjust that slightly to do a little bit of scaling. So we'll scale it around 0, 0, which is pixel.zv, and we'll scale it by 2. Next, we'll move the position by the man position that we had set previously. Now that we have a little bit more, let's test our code. Oops, looks like we forgot to do some imports. So these were the imports that were missing, and these were being used by our getSprite function. Specifically, we used OS to open the file, and then we used image and image/png to decode the file into an image. And this might be a weird notation for you, but what this does is it imports the side effects, but not the actual package. So we can't actually do anything like png dot call a function, but we do have some of the side effects imported, and that was required by our image decode function right here. Now we can run our code, and it accidentally opened on the wrong screen for me, but here it is. So this is a little man now drawn in the center of the screen, and everything else is still the same, so you can hit escape to close now. Next, let's do some input handling and move our man around. So what these 4 if statements will do is they'll check for all 4 arrow keys, and then they'll move the man in the right direction depending on which arrow key was pressed. I had a few little typos there, so let's rerun it. And then here's our little man. And so we can hit the left, right, up, down buttons, and then he'll move respective direction. And you can hit escape to close. All right, well, thanks for tuning in. That was the first episode where we opened a window, drew a sprite, and then also captured some input to move him around.